what I would begin with is Jnani se milkar kare jnan ki baatein, which indicates that when a learned peoples are onto the same platform, obviously the knowledge has been transferred to the variety of aspects. And with this context, I would establish into the segment that since many of the institutions they are now struggling and they strive to achieve the quality into the educations, and to have a quality of educations and to improve the quality into various aspects, not only the teaching learning, the overall governance, overall ability. Certainly a SWOT analysis need to be carried out. Okay, so my very first question to Dr. Krishnakant Gupta sir is, sir, what is an effective way with which a institute or university can do a SWOT analysis to an best effort, best way?
At the outset, let me thank Dr. Prashant Borkar from MasterSoft for taking me on board for this very important event in which academic leaders, IQAC coordinators, and teachers from various higher educational institutions are participating. And we shall be deliberating on initiatives and best practices and their implementation strategy by IQAC to ensure institutional excellence. Everybody wants excellence and everybody looks for the excellence. So my esteemed fellow members in this panel discussion, and dear teachers, academic leaders, as you all know, this is the age of globalization, liberalization, privatization, and industrialization, where economy is knowledge-driven and skill has become a currency. Quality and excellence, whether it is teaching, learning, assessment and evaluation, and final outcome, what we call as outcome-based education, has become the defining element of education in the 21st century. And there is a transition from education to all to quality education for all. And as you all know, for quality assurance, sustenance, and enhancement, a good mix of policy, strategy, roadmap, and resource is required. Now the question is, from where all this will come into picture of the organization or the academic leaders who are sitting at the top and dealing with the helm of the affairs. So I think it is nothing but the SWOT analysis of an educational institution. Before I talk about the SWOT analysis, I would like to recite two lines before you all. जंगल जंगल ढूंढ रहा है मृग अपनी कस्तूरी को, कितना मुश्किल है तय करना खुद से खुद की दूरी को. Everybody among you know that musk is in the navel of the deer, but the deer is searching for its musk in the forest, and how difficult it is to decide the distance from itself. This is happening with majority of the institutions. Instead of making the SWOT analysis of their own institution, they are looking at others. But we should not forget that every institution has its own question paper. Every institution has got its own responsibilities and own expectations of its stakeholders. So we should introspect ourselves and we should see to our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT analysis is a tool which is utilized during an analysis to examine the internal factors, that is strengths and weaknesses, and external factors, that is opportunities and threats. SWOT analysis is an analytical tool that is often used in strategic planning and strategic management of an organization so that the goals and objectives are achieved. Now, when an institution goes for SWOT analysis, there are certain external parameters and there are certain internal parameters. As regards opportunities and threats are considered, they are usually external and they are attributed by the environment prevailing in the system. And as regards the strengths and weaknesses are concerned, they are of internal origin and they are attributes of the organization. The strengths and opportunities help you in achieving the objective, and weaknesses and threats, they are harmful or they hamper your growth. Now you have to decide whether you have to run away from the situation, or you have to take part in the situation. So let me start with the threat. There are so many threats, there are so many challenges in the environment, in the situation, and these threats and challenges change with the time. Now it is our attributes, our attitude, our gratitude, how we look at the threats. And if we look at the threats with a positive attitude, these threats becomes our opportunities. And the latest example is that the whole country has adapted to the online education. Due to COVID-19, the whole education system was paralyzed, but there was a call and there was a will. I focus again, unless there is a will, there cannot be skill. So there was a will, there was a need, there was a pressure, and everybody is taking his or her classes through online education. Maybe when we were talking to senior people, they were quite reluctant in adapting to these smart boards, online e-content, their developments, their delivery. They were quite reluctant. But the situation, the threat, asked them, they agreed to it, and everybody is teaching. And this threat becomes an opportunity. Now, when opportunity is there are two options. Either opportunity knocks at your door, you open the door, accept it, or you grab the opportunity. So there are two options. Now, if you look at the opportunity with a negative attitude, it becomes your weakness. It happens in certain institutions. But if you look at the opportunity with a positive attitude, it becomes your strength. And when you get the strength, your strength makes roar of your success. The best example of SWOT analysis is the outcome of National Education Policy 2020. This is as a result of SWOT analysis of prevailing education system, as you all know, which mainly focuses on rote learning. The students, what do? They simply memorize the things, then they write the question paper, attempt the question paper, and they forget the things. They pass, they get higher percentage, and this entire system, it is absolutely marks focused. It does not identify the talent and has no scope for critical thinking, awareness, understanding, and analytical skills. You will agree with me that the system which we had been using 10 years back, or even 5 years back, or even 2 years back, we will agree that 21st century kids are being taught by 20th century adults using 19th century curriculum and techniques on an 18th century calendar. Some of you may be having different opinion. And what our universities did, all the academic activities in the college have been sought to be regulated by the affiliating universities through the curriculum and examinations. Consequently, there has been no attempt at quality enhancement or quality assurance involving innovative practices is going beyond the curriculum. So this is a situation. And when the SWOT analysis of our education system was done, because we were producing graduates and postgraduates, we were providing them passport, but they were not able to get visa. So government made a SWOT analysis with the help of academic leaders, the policy makers and all, and this national education policy came, and it envisages a change in the field of education. It clearly identifies the challenges in the education system and suggests measures for educational institutions with the aim to develop good human beings capable of national thought and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper and creative imagination, with sound ethical moorings and values. And this new education policy states that the quality enhancement and sustenance is the need of the hour. And this enhances the role of NAC and other regulatory agencies, because the moderators, they were talking about the NAC and IQAC. IQAC was talking about that it is the engine, and I say that it is the backbone of the system. If you have to sustain quality, if you have to enhance quality in an educational institution, then IQAC has to be there. Very reasonably and rationally appointed people, either from the society, either from the industry, or from the alumni, they have to be there, so that they can give their valuable inputs. Friends, with the advent of new education policy, new era of education with strong foundation on rich Indian art, culture, civilization, circumstance, heritage and history, core values, and global centers is dawning in India. It has seeds of total paradigm shift of education in this country. This I am telling you because the mindset of SWOT analysis of higher educational institution is going to be changed altogether in the wake of NEP 2020. The workplaces cannot remain untouched in the present environment where winds of change are blowing. Educational institutions should enhance an experience of each student and educator with a holistic solutions approach that focuses on technology. Only changing the course contents may not work. The pedagogy and the methodology as per emerging trends and innovations and the way we look at education has to be changed, and the call has to be taken by the institutions, policymakers, opinion makers, industry experts from the education sector, academic leaders, the teachers, and the other stakeholders. It will happen only when we change our attitude. Change in attitude is very important. Aims and objectives, and cultivate and understand that the process of teaching, learning, evaluation, assessment in higher educational institutions should ensure outcome-based learning. Now, as you all know that winds of change are blowing, NEP 2020 has already dawned in our country. Now, friends, when the winds of change blow, some find shelters and some make windmills. Choice is yours as academic leaders. So all this calls for SWOT analysis in higher educational institutions.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Institution, we have to think that do we have a right kind of mentoring mechanism? And our teachers can be good mentors if they have fire, if they have AG. AG means if they have the right kind of attitudes, attributes, and gratitudes. And a higher educational institution, do we have the right kind of learning infrastructure so that the students can have information anywhere, anybody, and anytime? This is the need of the time which we have to think into. Academic leaders and teachers need to know. To create institutions of excellence, SWOT analysis for identifying the strength and weakness of the institutions with gap analysis is a very important parameter for remedial actions. I consider 5S for SWOT analysis. 5S, I consider self, introspection is a must. System, students, stakeholders, and the skills. And as one pyramid was shown by Okre, that in the entire pyramid of education system which prevailed in an HEI, we have to take into account the entire pyramid from top to bottom or from the top authority to the students level. And I personally feel that governance should be system driven, not person specific. If it is a governance is system driven, then persons come, persons go, institutions remain. If there is a system, then the institution will remain and it will last long. And also the SWOT analysis warns us and it doesn't allow us to sink in the pool of complacency, which is very important. Now, when we go for the SWOT analysis, we should think on when, what, where, how, why, and whom. What do we want to do? When, what we want to do, where we want to do, how we want to do, why we want to do, for whom we want to do. If these questions are in our mind, then we will definitely can do the right kind of SWOT analysis in any higher educational institutions. And this can be by the internal team members or this can be by the external team members. Now, as principal or as IQAC coordinators, very important roles, but you have to have perseverance. You have to have resilience, innovative, you have to navigate sometimes, compassionate, inclusive, predictive, adaptive, and liberal. Because several times the situations come when you go for the SWOT analysis, you ask your colleagues to provide you the data. Sometimes they are not very cooperative. Sometimes they react in a different way. So as an IQAC coordinator or as a principal of the institution, you should have all these qualities. Now, students have contributions to SWOT analysis. Administrators have contribution to SWOT analysis and teachers have contribution. As a students, they should take responsibility, participate in surveys and self-evaluations, self-assessment and self-evaluation, take part in decision-making and design process, tutors and mentors, and give feedback to the HEI. And as an administrator, establishing support structures, providing quality services, avoiding quality bureaucracy, very important, supporting feedback loops, engaging in self-assessment and self-reflection, and information and communication. And as a teacher, if SWOT analysis is going on, take the role of learners, creating suitable learning environments, implementing a feedback culture, peer teaching and peer reviews, engaging in self-assessment and self-reflection, and learning coaches. I personally believe that teacher has to be a mentor first. Sometimes he has to act as father, mother, friend, philosopher, guide, and whatnot. So this is very important. And as a teacher,
Yes.
he has to know that he has to educate children, encourage children, enlighten children, and empower children and make them employable. And this can be achieved when we have the right kind of educators, imparting right kind of skills and values to the students, and right kind of certification is there in our educational institution. And for that, friends, we have to reorient education that thrives towards a vibrant, prosperous, enlightened system, generating knowledge and new ideas so as to make it locally need-based, socially relevant, nationally important, and globally significant. And to achieve this, for producing holistically developed graduate educators, we as teachers to ponder over 4 questions that will lead to effective lesson planning, which is very important. Everywhere the people are talking about course outcome, program outcomes, and program specific outcomes. So before doing that, we should know that who, what, why, and how. What are the learners? Do we really know them? What do learners need to be able to do? Why is this subject necessary for the learners? How can the learner best learn the subject? If we can address to all these questions, then we can definitely develop our students holistically.
Certainly, yes, sir. Certainly agree with your context that yes, governance it should be a system driven, and it should not be a person dependent. And institutes to have a SWOT analysis and very well. I mean, you have pointed the very good indicators for the educational institutions. Sir, I will, in align with that, will get back to you onto this. And like you mentioned, the threats to be converted into the opportunities, into the positive aspect. I will keep this into mind, and I will quickly move to Samir sir for the Ferguson from the Ferguson College. And sir, my question to you onto the aspect that, say, being a SWOT analysis has been carried out, what kind of short-term goals or long-term goals a institute or a university to have it, and how we can plan it to achieve those into this aspect?
Yeah, thanks, Prashant, for inviting me. I would slightly put it in a different way. I would say, see, now we completed 3 cycles of NAC. Now we are due for the 4th cycle. So when we look at the assessment outcome document, AOD, which the peer team has handed over to the institutions, okay, I feel that itself is a very good guideline for any higher education institution to move ahead, number one. Secondly, we have done SWOT analysis during the 1st cycle, during the 2nd cycle, during the 3rd cycle. Okay, have we really did we really go into all those details, whatever we mentioned as our strengths, details as what we mentioned in our threats, details where we mentioned in our opportunities or challenges? I have seen, I mean, most of the time institutions, they prepare this SWOT analysis only when they're due for assessment in that particular year. Don't take it.
No, I do agree with your context.
Yeah.
It is fact.
So,
it is fact.
Yeah. So your IQAC, you know, that is the what you say, epicenter to bring in any kind of volcano or an earthquake, whatever. Okay, so your IQAC should be properly authorized, number one. Secondly, it should be a good combination of people who are self-motivated, number one. They don't need any external motivation from the higher authorities or from the management saying that, oh, you are great, you are doing good, nothing of that sort. So they should be self-motivated people. They should act as a think tank of the institution. Okay, what we exactly want to do in next 5 years, next 10 years. Okay, So when I'll just give our example. When we went for assessment, NAC assessment in the first cycle. Okay, as a very old institution, now we are 134-year-old institution. That time the criteria were not very stringent. Okay, you have good facilities, you have good teaching learning facilities, you have good number of teachers, good student participation, all those things, all happy, goody. It went on well. Okay, and yeah, we got A grade. Second cycle, thoda stringent ban gaya. Okay, third cycle, it was very stringent. Okay, they said that yours is such an old institution. We are having 28 departments. Total number of departments is 28. Okay, so basically it's a arts and science college, right? So they said that if you're doing so many things, okay, with regard to teaching learning, with regard to placements, with regard to your industry tie-ups, and with regard to research, with regard to publication, why don't you think of becoming an autonomous institution? So when we interacted with them on the last day, they said that there is an immediate need that you become an autonomous institution. Not only that, you also should become or rise up to a university. Okay, so that is where the IQAC became very active. After the third cycle, we said yes, we are going to be autonomous. And in fact, let me tell you that we were trying for autonomy since 2012 or something like that. And then we used to keep on submitting proposals to the university, but somehow it was not taken forward. And finally, after the third cycle, we said, no, we are going to put our foot down and we are going to move out of this affiliation status and get in autonomy. Okay. So for us, it was a major task. Let me tell you, because we are not born in autonomy, unlike colleges which are there in southern part of our country, right? So changing our setup from affiliated system into an autonomous system was a big task for IQAC as such. So we started looking at various aspects, like how your teaching should improve, what type of industries should come to your campus, how your board of studies should be there, who all should be there in your board of studies, okay, who all should be there in your academic council so that you get a proper guidance, what kind of governance structure you would like to follow. So all these things were put together and then we brought into autonomy. Now once autonomy aa gayi under campus mein, okay, there were different challenges. Okay, because we were used to university system. Are wo examination jo hai wo university leta hai. Okay, then we started thinking like we have to develop our own examination system. We have to offer a flexible method of assessment. And today I would say that we are doing quite well. And for any institution for that matter, whether big or small, old or new, okay, what I feel is every institution should do some kind of gap analysis. This is what I learned from our management, आप gap analysis करो. Many times हमारा क्या हो जाता है कि we are from some subject, maybe from chemistry or mathematics or zoology or botany. Many of things we don't know how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, we need to learn how to do it. We need to gain expertise in that. We need to visit institutions which are performing well, especially autonomous institutions. We have to look into their structure. At times, there is no harm in copying their structure. There's no harm. There's no harm. Even for best practices, I would say. एक institution अगर एक A type का best practice follow करता है, same thing can be done in my institution also. So there is no harm in copying and in learning as well. So there are three questions which always come to my mind. One is, are we performing better than we ever performed? This is number one. This is the question which every institution should ask to themselves. Second, are there any other organizations that are performing well and from whom we can learn? There could be so many good autonomous colleges across the country, So we should be open for learning. We should visit them. We should talk to them. We should interact. And with the new revised RAR, you also can collaborate for your IQAC activities. And that is how you can exchange with them. There can be very good academic exchange between institutions, and that is how the institutions will grow, right?
Yes.
And one more question last, are there any practices that will improve our performance? Okay, this is very important. I tell you, I had been to some of the best autonomous institutions, and what I learned especially from them is something called as systems and processes, which now NAC is saying that you should have a policy, you should have a well-defined process, you should have something called a standard operating procedure. Now see, this is all on documents many a times. Okay, is it really implemented? Is it really followed? You should visit best institutions and learn from them. You will find that this is being implemented through their activities.
Yes.
तो वेबसाइट पे अपलोड करके नहीं होता है. आपने जो अपलोड किया है, जो लिखा है, is it being practiced? Is it being followed? And I think if this is being done, I think our ranking of higher education in our country will definitely go up. That is how I
Yes.
look at these things. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, very, very crisp and very informative into the context that as an institute, we should identify a IQAC team who are self-motivated. I mean, they should be proactive enough to carry out the activities. And as you rightly mentioned, that the gap analysis is something which is very much essential. To have a gap analysis, and based on the gap analysis, what effective measures or the action planning has to be done, and then subsequently in further academic sessions, it has to be incorporated. And I really liked your three questions of, I mean, I do agree with your context that as an institution, we should have an introspection wherein what are they doing, what others are doing, what are the good other institutions who are good into, I mean, they are good enough, and what kind of best practices they are adopting. And actually, my next question to Dr. Harsh Purohit sir is on to the same line of the SOP. That being the target is set, being we have set at the goals, we did this SWOT analysis. Now the thing is to be carried out, activities to be carried out all the way, and processes to be in place. So I quickly come to Harsh Purohit sir, and my specific question to you is, sir, what is the importance of articulating or formulating the standard operating procedure, and how actually we can going to implement it on our day-to-day kind of an activities?
Dhanyawad, Prashant ji. It was so wonderful to see the presentation by MasterSoft, and here to Dr. Gupta and Dr. Terdalkar. When you begin, you mentioned about a few lines, Gyani se kijiye gyan ki baatein. So that reminds me to add further to it. There is a Sanskrit shlok. Yasya nasti swayam pragya shastram tasya karoti kim lochnabhyam vihinasya darpanam kim karishyati. So what it means is that if there are people who are without wisdom, all our discussion and the literature is of no use to them. Same way as somebody who unfortunately cannot see, the mirror is of no use to the person. So that's the Sanskrit shlok that I would like to begin with. Dr. Prashant ji, we live in a VUCA world, as some people say, and there is a Professor Johnson from US who worked on it. So I have added to it two more dimensions, NW. So while VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, the two additions by my side, that is N is for nature apathy, and W, which I was talking about, is wisdomlessness. So in that perspective, we at Banasthali Vidyapeeth, which is the world's largest residential university for women, and there are about 15,000 girls studying fully residential education in a 1,000-acre campus. So you can imagine that with about 26 departments and so many activities that take place, particularly a unique one which we call Panchmukhi Shiksha, the holistic development of students through a 5-fold education. So for our activities, we realized very early that we need to have the standard operating procedures so that we can both sustain what we are doing and also grow in our all the ways, but particularly the quality, and ensuring that we keep ourselves intact with our roots. We believe that education is driven by the leadership, values, processes, and the people. And that's where the SOPs help. So SOPs, as we have realized, not only brings a consistency and reliability, but also in the terms of efficiency also it helps. We have also found that going for the SOPs reduces errors which otherwise had been, and more importantly ensures a healthy, safe and an environment which is transparent. So when we go for the SOPs, I would also mention along with that as an example. At Banasthali, we have several unique things. One of the unique things is we provide opportunity to the girls to go for flying. So we have our own 7 Cessna aircrafts which have been donated by one of the other philanthropists to the university.
That's great.
So now, while developing SOPs as far as our flying club activities are concerned, we have to take in, of course, we would be making a blueprint for the most repetitive tasks, making an outline and launch every blueprint's processes, and also will be assigning and automating the routine tasks with the required level of detail, whatever it is.
Yes.
But here, when I'm talking about the selection and training the girls on the flying club, we started with asking ourselves, what are our guiding principles? And we found that there are some principles which will be there for each and every. So some of the principles that we identified were the legal angle, because it is a DGCA approved flying club, so we have to take in account the things. Second was the merit, that if we select the girls, because about 200 girls we select every year, and who are provided free flying for about 20 hours.
Okay.
Then safety, and also providing the equal opportunity. So we have to start with some guiding principles as far as the SOPs are concerned. And the institution has to keep in mind that what values you stand for, and based on that, each and everything in the SOP should come up. If you have drafted your SOP in the best way, see, we have drafted SOPs for many activities, and I'm not saying that they were all foolproof. Sometimes when we implemented, we found some problems and we could rectify them, but we learned the lesson that rectifying it later is a little more troublesome. So if you invest a little more time in planning and take up a decision, draft them even a bit late, it's fine. But draft them with full confidence, taking the stakeholders' approval. So that is how we can ensure that the SOPs can be more effective.
And how about the transparency of the SOPs with the stakeholders? I mean, that has also been important, that whatever SOP has been articulated by the institute and university, it should be transparent to the stakeholders. So like you mentioned that, of course, yes, stakeholders' opinion also into a place to wherever there is some modifications or update we need to do it, we can have it. But yes, initial planning, if it is in well-planned manner, it should be the overall functioning will be smoother.
Correct.
Sir, yeah. So I will now quickly move to Gopal Krishna sir. And sir, now with the SOPs are now being in place, we assume that now the institute or as a university, the SOPs are now being placed. And as an institute or universities, a lot of activities has been carried on. Now, to Gopala sir, my question is, sir, how we can use some kind of a digitization platform, or how we can actually capture all these activities, all this information into some kind of format. See, many a times the institution don't have a proper governance mechanism. They carry out the activities, but there is no proper either documentation of it or even the digital keeping of the record. Sir, your opinions on it?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Prashant, for a nice opportunity to share my views with my fellow panelists here. I'm very happy, first of all, very happy to share with all my dear panelists and officers from MasterSoft and dear participants. I am from an autonomous engineering college from Hyderabad, that is in the state of Telangana. And we have been accredited twice by National Assessment Accreditation Council, NAAC, twice. First time we got grade A with 3.15. And for the second time, in the last recent year, we got A++ with a CGP of 3.55. I'm very happy to share this with all of you. As like Dr. Prashant rightly pointed out, in collecting, collation, and placing information in right way is a difficult task. When it comes to especially pertaining to information, collation and collection, especially for NAAC, it's of course a tedious task because lots of information lying in the files and folders in various departments. For example, in my college, we have 6 engineering departments and 1 basic humanities and science department. So every department, as per the event calendar, will carry out lots of activities at a department level and at institution level, because there are tens of student professional bodies like IEEE, IST, etc. And there are some college clubs which are looking after at a specific interest of the students. So these many bodies, especially student bodies and college clubs and professional societies, have been carrying out hundreds of activities as per the institutional calendar. So now the point is, as Dr. Prashant said, how do we collect information and making it available at fingertip for producing in a efficient way to the regulatory bodies is a challenge, of course, for every institution. Once the institutions are like sprawling, like it's growing, the volume of information available will also be growing. For example, if you conduct an activity, the photographs of the activity, the theme of the activity, the report of the activity, the attendance signed by the students. So all of them becomes evidences for, at least for, if you say take NAAC into account. So whenever you claim an activity, these activities has to be supposed to be provide some certain evidences. So we need an MIS, Management Information System. Of course, MasterSoft is a master in that. So an ERP solution, a management information system is highly essential for institutions of a certain size. Smaller institutions, of course, maybe could be able to manage their information maybe in a non-digital way, but of course for institutions, for example, my college is of having 7,500 students with 9 UG programs and 6 PG programs in engineering we have been offering. And we have a pharmacy college, of course, it is standalone. So we have hundreds of programs, activities going on in the college from time to time as per the calendar. Because as per the benchmarks set by the IQAC, because IQAC's main responsibility is to institutionalize the best practices. Of course, that is one of the key role of IQAC. So IQAC will set up some benchmarks even for activities. Student, any activity, it may be curricular or co-curricular or extracurricular. So as per the benchmark set by the IQAC, from time to time, every department is supposed to conduct activities depending on the interest. But of course, if it is a curricular activity, we conduct a training in need analysis from all the students. According to the training need analysis only, we will throw some workshops to the students, or we will conduct some international certifications to the students, or we will conduct some extracurricular co-curricular activities to the students. The benchmarks are certainly set by IQAC. According to the advice by the IQAC, every semester we will conduct activities. At the end of the semester, we will check whether we have been met the benchmarks given by the IQAC from time to time. Here, I really thank the IQAC at our institution, head by Professor Raju, because I am not looking after IQAC, but of course I am the member of IQAC, an active member of the IQAC. I am responsible for information dissemination to all stakeholders, being a dean publicity. So I am one of the key member in my IQAC. My IQAC is very vibrant and like they have been doing a fantastic job with the help of IQAC and the way they have set their benchmarks. And last 5 years, we worked very hard and filling AQR to the best of the satisfaction of the management. And we never missed even a single piece of information. We make sure every activity, every syllabus revision, every research contribution by faculty, every award won by the faculty, whatever, every information, we make sure that it goes to AQR without any missing. Hence, we could be able to develop a huge database of information, which is very much useful to fill the SSR on the go. Because like unless until we don't have high quality information available in AQR reports, it will be very much difficult to fill the sub-study report to NAC.
Yes, do agree. Yeah,
our IQAC is very successful in setting benchmarks. Let us take an example. Our IQAC, since you have been talking about activities, our IQAC sets like certain benchmarks to every professional society. We have IEEE student branch at our college. Yes. It got like hundreds of awards. It says every semester, every professional society has to come up with 2 activities. Every department has to conduct 1 guest lecture per month and 1 workshop in every 2 months and one conference in 1 year. So like that, we have set certain benchmarks, and we have been taking into spirit and action, and we will try to meet the benchmarks given by IQAC from time to time. Hence, that we could be able to see a positive gradient in the quality.
Certainly agree with your context, and you rightly mentioned that the benchmarking which the IQAC cell should actually drive the institutional workforce.
If you give me 1 more minute, I would like to
definitely
some of the benchmarks what we have been following, because it will be a good information, maybe because like we have been a A++ institution. Our practices may be helpful for some of the friends who have been participating in this big platform.
Certainly.
We usually, our IQAC is like successful in setting up certain benchmarks according to the criteria wise. For example, if you come to curricular aspects, IQAC will set given a benchmark for a COPO attainment. Means how does the attainment levels of course outcomes and program outcomes must be. So they will set up some limits. As and when the thresholds are met, they will make the bar to be much more higher, and the number of value added courses to be offered by every department. How many number of courses each department has to offer under value added courses, because value added courses is an important a quantitative metric in quantitative metric in curricular aspects. And when we come to teaching, learning and evaluation, the feedback analysis, they will set up some benchmark. What is the total average feedback of all the faculty together? For example, it's we take it on a scale of 4. For example, 3.2 to 3.26 is like a good feedback. And ICT activities, how many activities are being conducted on ICT line, and how many faculty members and how many students has to undergo NPTEL courses. To the surprise, my IQAC have given 100% as the benchmark. Every student and every faculty has to undergo 1 NPTEL course in 1 academic year. That is what our IQAC.
Yes.
And from past 2 years, we are successful in that, and we have been placed as the number 1 institution in the state of Telangana who got the highest NPTEL gold certifications and huge participation. In the similar way, on R&D lines also, how many per head, how many papers has to be published? Every teacher without PhD must publish one paper per semester. Every faculty with PhD need to publish two research articles which are indexed either in Scopus and Web of Science. And every department has to come up with some projects in every year, which is worth more than 5 lakhs is one, worth more, less than 5 lakhs is one. It is mandatory. Every department has to work in these lines to achieve.
Yes.
Actually,
benchmarking is certainly needed, and to have a better quality, certainly when the institution grows, the benchmarking level need to be upgraded. So being said that, yes, now I would now request Janki to further moderate the panel on my behalf. And so now again, the Janki will be now coordinating for the further set of questions. So again, yes, Janki, over to you. And my request to all the panel members is let's it very crisp so that we can have it. I mean, we should be in a time bomb. Yeah, Janki, over to you.
Prashant sir, a really nice framework of questions. I'll just summarize it in 2 minutes so that our listeners take a break and also revise. So firstly, we went to Krishnakant sir, who explained us in brief what a SWOT analysis should be like. The governance system should be driven by the system and not by a person. The SWOT analysis should talk about the points, what we are doing, what we are trying to achieve, why we are doing it, for whom we are doing it, and how we are trying to achieve these set of goals. Post that, we try to understand from Sameer sir what has been his experience and what are the best practices that he has adopted while transforming the Ferguson College or the institution. He suggested that IQACs are the think tanks of the institutions, and they have to come up with the ideas, the set of necessary pointers to suggest to the entire college. And we have to perform better. We have to ask the questions to ourselves. Are we performing better than someone? Are we performing better than ourselves? And we have to have an open mindset of learning. We should also improvise on the practices that we need to improve our performance and how we should go about doing it. Next, we went to Harsh sir, who suggested the importance of SOPs. As sir put it rightly, that SOPs help you sustain and manage your growth with quality assurance. It is consistency which becomes constant. It is the consistency of your actions and your protocols that becomes constant. Also, sir suggested that documenting these SOPs is again very important. You have to ensure that whatever you are learning, it is locally important, globally acceptable, socially acceptable, and the practices and the guiding principles and values of the institution are a very important step, and an understanding of the guiding principles is a very important thing while we are designing these SOPs, which need to be documented and followed upon. It was Gopala sir who suggested that after a certain point, we need an MIS to ensure that whatever SOPs we are trying to put, they need to be driven through a system so that everything is in place, things are streamlined. You need a management information system. He also suggested that a major aspect in his institution achieving A++ would be the benchmarks that they have set up. So it's not just the outcomes. They have set up the outcomes, but along with that, a benchmark, and IQAC acts as an agency which keeps on checking whether these benchmarks have been achieved or not. So not just keeping a long-term goal, but dividing it into short-term goals and ensuring that these short-term goals are attained and improvising whenever it is required. So these are the pointers that we have discussed till now. The session recording will be made available to everyone at the end of the session so that you can go through the session, because there are various very descriptive points which have been covered by all the speakers. So now I would like to go to the second round, and I would like to ask the question to Krishnakant sir. Sir, as we are seeing, there is a mindset shift after COVID. Technology is taking a pace. We are seeing that there are new technologies which are coming up, blockchain, cryptocurrency, new concepts altogether. And there needs to be a shift in the curriculum, as you suggested, that we are going with a 18th or 19th century curriculum. So, sir, what are the best practices that you would suggest us to adopt while we are going for curriculum transformation or curriculum design? Thank you.
Thank you, madam. As you were talking about that curriculum design and delivery, I say that it is course design and curriculum delivery. Because when we talk about the affiliated colleges, our college is also affiliated colleges in NCR of Delhi. It is situated in Haryana. And we also accredited A++ by NAC for the third cycle. Affiliated colleges usually cannot make a differentiation between course design and for affiliated colleges, course is designed by the university and what curriculum to deliver. And this lays the foundation stone of the future of a student, I personally believe. And it aims at holistic development of students so that they have sound domain knowledge and adorned with soft skills and life skills. This is where we are missing, that our entire system is marks focused. We focus more on marks and we do not focus on soft skills and life skills, which is the demand of the market these days. And that's why the students are sometimes not employable. And as you all know, that knowledge has become not only the wealth of nations, but the key to one's personal prosperity and quality of life. It has become the responsibility of institutions to provide their students with the education, right kind of education, and that can be done with proper course design and curriculum delivery. And we should understand as academic leaders that before designing the course, the landscape of higher education has been transitory and need to be continuously updated to meet the changing educational goals to move forward in the eternal journey of quality higher education. We must understand that all steps or measures adopted should ensure value-based skill education with human touch so that a decent society can be bequeathed to the coming generation. And this is again included in the course design. The student body has considerably expanded and diversified both socially and geographically. As you know, class concept of flip-flop classrooms, students are well versed with the contents. When they come to class, sometimes they are knowing more than the teacher. So it's a very challenging time for the teachers. They have to come updated with their knowledge and skills. And new students call for new teaching methods, which is covered under curriculum. And modern technologies have entered the classrooms, as you were talking about, and thus modifying the nature of the interaction between students and professors. The governments, the students and their families, the employers, the fund providers increasingly demand value for their money and desire more efficiency. So this is very important. If you make a gap analysis, as one of the previous speaker was talking about, then 70% in the market is required the soft skill, and 30% is what is the domain knowledge. But I think in our prevailing system and course design, the reverse is the case. So we should focus more on soft skills rather than on domain knowledge. And besides that, the physically, mentally, economically, spiritually, emotionally, socially, morally, and educationally sound students, and which is included in the curriculum part. Focused students with innovation, entrepreneurship, inquisition, reception, retention, curiosity, and reasonable caliber, which is very important. I had listened to the word VUCA, but from sir, I could find two new words, N and W also. And he has rightly explained what this VUCA and W is. And there is, as you know, knowledge explosion, globalization, diversity, technological change, and knowledge transfer. And in the light of all these, course has to be designed very cautiously, and it is to be delivered with the right kind of spirit. As regards the best practices can be internal and best practices can be external. And sir was rightly saying that best practice can be copied from an institution, because someone has rightly said implementing best practices is copying yesterday and innovation is inventing tomorrow. There can be universal criteria, because we always talk of producing global citizens, and there can be contextual criteria also for identifying and implementing the best practices. And for identification and application, we should also gauge our input factors, process factors, and output factors. It should be economical, efficient, and effective. And the most important part is that it should be dynamic and revisited or improvised periodically. It should recognize diversity and cultural and historical context. It does not lead to dominance of one specific view or approach, because sometimes otherwise agitations are there, some resistance is there. So we have to be very cautious and careful. It promotes quality of performance, overall excellence, and holistic development. And we are able to produce the global citizens who can think globally and act locally by designing the right kind of course and delivering it properly. And the important is the identification of best practices, implementation of best practices, institutionalization of best practices, utilization of best practices, and dissemination of best practices. If I talk about the curriculum aspect, then learning outcome-based curriculum has to be there, where the curricula developed and implemented are contemporary and futuristic, with flexibility and enrichment, and have relevance to the local, national, regional, and global developmental needs. which is reflected in the program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and course outcomes of the programs offered by the institution. The content has to be of good quality, from static to dynamic content, as some digital learning is there all over. Teachers training is very important, not orientation. Training of the teachers is very, very important. We should switch over from pedagogy to andragogy, where the curriculum delivery is learner centric, not content centric. And we should also address to the cross-cutting issues, and feedback for continuous improvement is very, very important. Once we identify the content, it is very important to identify, then we have to customize the content, and then we have to curate the content. And when the content is identified, customized, and curated, then we have to integrate it with ICT, and then we have to deliver it. Now, the important point is that who has to decide the course outcome, who has to decide the program outcome. So in my personal view, course outcome should be defined at the faculty level, program specific outcomes should be defined at departmental level, and program outcomes, program educational outcomes should align with the vision and mission of the institution, and they should be defined at institutional levels. And to make our students globally significant, regionally and locally relevant, we should start to some honors program. We should enablement of disadvantaged slow learners, holistic traditional discipline through corporate living. Industry presence in the campus is very must. Field project and field practicum in social work. Semesters in India program for overseas students. Curriculum restructuring. Replacement of general English with functional English to improve the communication skills. Regrouping of courses to provide new subject combinations. Curricular internalization of values integrated curriculum for value-based education. And some of the more best practices in curricular aspects: collaboration with institution of quality, some competence enhancing curricular strategies, full-time or part-time technical courses, curricular aspects that promote value addition, modular courses, value addition for course diversification, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary courses we can have, value-added courses we can have, further extension or going for another as per time and market, and modern gadgetry we should use. So these are some of the best practices which can be imbibed in the existing system, and that can be looked into while designing the course content and delivering the curriculum. This is my point of view about the course design and curriculum delivery, induction of best practices to make the holistic development of students.
So it's a very, I would say, it's a very vast concept in itself, and you've listed out all the pointers to us. So now I would like to go to Samir, sir. Sir, as you were saying, so curriculum design is one aspect. Another aspect that we see is job readiness. It is a major aspect because the population of India is increasing. We have the highest or the second highest working population. So how do you suggest that we make our students ready for the jobs in this changing environment?
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yes.
Very tough question. Okay, especially for colleges who are arts, science, and commerce. Okay, for engineering, it is, I know that they are quite professional as compared to us. For us, you know, there are quite a few challenges in implementing, preparing a good curriculum, and that delivering it with the essential deliverables in the classroom or in the laboratory. Getting students equipped, okay, with a specific skill set, okay, and then saying that our student is quite industry ready. This is a standard process, which most of the people say, yes, this is how it has been done. But I slightly think in a different way. When we design a particular course or a particular curriculum, we need to keep in mind various factors. Okay. Number one is the expertise of the teachers who are going to teach it, their practical skill, their updation, especially with regard to technology, and how effective they are in the laboratory or in the classroom. Okay, this is very important. I can just copy down syllabus from Oxford or Cambridge or Princeton or whatever, and I see, yes, this is a make a few changes and say, this is my syllabus, and yes, people will say, what a great syllabus, अरे बढ़िया है, आपका board of studies तो बहुत बढ़िया है, but when it comes to deliverables, there is a failure. So, you know, when we are designing a particular course, when we are setting a course structure, you know, the change should be gradual. This question was asked to me in very first meeting of our autonomy, you know, that how much of the syllabi should be revised. Now, are we saying that university syllabi or affiliated syllabi were bad? No, they were good. Yes, they were good. But can we bring in changes in that particular structure? Okay. So then we started, okay, आपको अगर 20% करना है, 20% करिए, 40%, 60%, 80%. Some people said, okay, we would like to change the entire course. Okay, fine. That is also fine. If you can handle it, you can do it. Then we started working on the skill sets of teachers. Okay, आपको training को जाना है, you can go. Get them trained at good centers of excellence in the country. Okay, get good experience. Come back and explain it to other teachers. Okay, and then implement it. Okay, this is how this cannot happen overnight. Let me tell you, this cannot happen overnight. And if you try to do it, there will be a lot of resistance. Okay, because if I'm not prepared from here and here, okay, nothing works out. Nothing works out. A teacher is the most, let me tell you, autonomous replicating unit like a plasmid. Okay, वो फटाफट replicate होता है. तो जब तक replication set नहीं होता, it is not going to change. Let me tell you. And at times I feel, हम लोग अभी curriculum की बात कर रहे हैं, industry orientation की बात कर रहे हैं. If NAC was not there or NBA was not there, what could have happened to our higher education? And in India, it's our psychology. Let me tell you, हम हमेशा ग्रेड की सोचते हैं. देखो, बच्चा हमारा 10th में है, 12th में है, उसको कितना परसेंट, 90% है, yes, he is intelligent. आपका A grade है, अरे fantastic institution. No, don't think in that way. You think holistically. Why not improve ourselves? Why not improve our curriculum? Why not improve our deliverables in the classroom? Then we started getting industry people into the campus. Okay. Now industry people used to come, they used to say so many things and go. Is that going to help? No, we should enter into some kind of formal tie-up. Bring them on your board of studies. Go for a peer assessment of your curriculum. Ask them to conduct a curriculum development workshop. Make it mandatory. You call 10 different experts from 10 different fields and say, this is our curriculum, and see what best you can do, and whatever has been done, whether justice has been done to that curriculum or not. Okay. And then we rolled out our feedback after doing all these exercises. Okay. We looked at the student feedback. आप जिसको पढ़ा रहे हो वो palatable होना चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए. I'll give you one good example. We have BVOC courses, under UGC. Earlier, we were aspiring very high, So at a point of time, it was seen that the curriculum in the very first year is quite heavy, because that is based on NSQ, National Schools Quality Framework. Okay, that was quite heavy on them. Okay, so can we slightly bring it down? Can we bring it down slightly? Okay, and then go on increasing its what you can say, level of complexity or understanding, make it more, you raise its level, This feedback we got from the students, this feedback we got from the industry people, and then we made changes, and now things are working fine. So this is like a loop, मुझे आज लगा कि okay, I am a zoologist, I want to put a practical on cloning of dinosaur. Is it possible? Have I seen a dinosaur? No. Why you want to experiment it unnecessarily and go blah 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 blah? Teach something which is very basic at the undergraduate level, and then go on increasing. Okay, नहीं तो मैंने ये किया है, वो किया है, students बहुत कुछ बोलते हैं interview में. Okay, but they don't know basic. You ask them structure of DNA, they don't know. Okay, and I at times I feel that आपका graduate आपके campus में से बाहर जाने के बाद क्या करता है? We talk about their industrial readiness, which we are doing. Okay, but as a citizen, how he or she is outside the campus. Can we inculcate some good human values in these students? which should be also made a part of your curriculum. उनको सिखाना चाहिए. मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि स्टूडेंट्स को भी ये सिखाने की जरूरत है आज. It's the need. And with this online education, let me tell you, as a teacher, I am not happy. I want to teach in class where there is eye-to-eye contact. Okay. Now you may say, नहीं, अभी बहुत सारा scenario change हो गया है. UGC is saying we have to go 40% online, this. Okay, fine. But the way you can teach in a classroom, in a laboratory, you cannot teach online. You make use of so many tools or something. And many times what happens, students का कैसा है 2 घंटा 3 घंटा होने के बाद they lose their patience.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So वो on करके रख देते हैं बस. Yeah, it's okay. सुनना है.
Fatigue.
Retention is a major issue.
Yes. So keeping them focused is our prime responsibility when we go for online teaching.
One question here.
Yeah.
Sir, you suggested at the start that the attitude that we have, that the grade should be good. A grade होना चाहिए, 99% होना चाहिए. So do you think somewhere parental involvement is something, parental pressure is something जिसके वजह से students focus more on marks, and that awareness needs to be there among the parents as well?
Exactly. You know, you should also equip, जैसे अभी गुप्ता सर अपने पहले वाले सेशन में बता रहे थे कि उनको एक स्किल सेट भी देना चाहिए, उनको लाइफ स्किल्स भी आनी चाहिए, राइट? डोंट कॉन्सेंट्रेट ओनली ऑन परसेंटेज और ग्रेड्स ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन. आपके बच्चे को बाहर जाके बैंक में गया तो डज ही नो देयर इज अ कैश डिपॉजिट स्लिप दैट हैज टू बी फिल्ड प्रॉपर्ली एंड देन गिवन, ओके, एंड देन यू गेट अ काउंटर फॉइल. मालूम है परसेंटेज है 90%, 95%, कॉलेज है ए ग्रेड A+. कहाँ गया आपका एजुकेशन? वेयर इज इट गोइंग? हाँ, सिर्फ डिग्री आया, ग्रेजुएट फ्रॉम फर्ग्यूसन कॉलेज. We are working on these issues. Let me tell you, it is the need of the hour that we need to create good citizens. They should be good citizens, they should be responsible citizens, they should not throw plastic bottles on the road, they should not put garbage on the road, they should be environmentally cautious. All these things should be there. Otherwise वो अपने डिग्री का कुछ भी यूज नहीं है. That is my free and frank opinion. Yeah,
absolutely.
Certainly.
Very nice opinions. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience and the entire journey that you see. The focus on industrial involvement into curricular design and what they are actually focusing on the outside and inculcating that in the curriculum can actually make students more ready to what they would be facing after the 3 or 4 years after the college. So now I would like to go to Harsh Purohit, sir. Sir, so going to the accreditation side of things, what metrics or criteria in the NAC manual or the framework are the ones which are most important or more important for institutional excellence, and which should be the ones to focus on while institutions are going for accreditation?
Dhanyavad Janki. Once again, we got wonderful perspectives from the speakers, and I think we are all trying to focus on the excellence part. And as an outcome over here, we can see such good flowering messages in the chat box as well. So thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, coming to the question, see, all criteria are important. At Banastali, when we got 3.63 out of 4, we focused on all and each and every matrix and all. And as we are all aware that the 1,000 mark which have been distributed, there are differences when it comes to the university, autonomous colleges, and the other colleges. So if I talk in the terms of universities, then we are all aware that the research, innovation, and extension is given more weightage. And a little lesser to it, but still important, could be teaching, learning, and evaluation. But this teaching, learning, and evaluation, I think if we take it up, then it is of paramount importance for autonomous colleges and the other colleges as well. So there are 2 ways in which we can see answering to this question. One is that we identify that which are the criteria that are carrying more weightage. And second is if we identify some particular factor. Say, for example, somebody may pick up teacher profile and quality, which in itself carries a good weightage. And apart from that is the driving factor for the student satisfaction and the research, which will ultimately have an impact later on. And also, we are all aware that the NAC also allows us that we can opt out some of the metrics which are not applicable for us. But the thing is that, number one, all the criteria are very important. And number two, if you want me to choose one, then I would say that it is the governance and the leadership in the institution that is the most important, because that will be driving the vision, the mission, and all the processes and the flow. So that's what is my take.
I even do agree with your context that because in criteria 7, it's all the policies and everything has been set up. And with the help of which once a governance has been set up, the things can be automatically get streamlined.
Correct.
Yeah, Janaki.
Right. So now, sir, for the last question, I would like to go to Gopala, sir. Sir, I would like to know any 3 points that you would like to suggest our audiences today. These 3 pointers which should be avoided when institutions are going for NAC. So, yes, sir.
Yeah. So when it comes to, because most of the participants here may know that out of 1,000 marks, mostly like 70% of marks are evaluated for quantitative metrics, and only 30% weightage is given for qualitative metrics. So the first don't so there is when a peer team is constituted, they are going to, when they are constituted, they are supposed to come to the institution for evaluation and on-spot evaluation. So we have an executive summary to be written in a decent way, which clearly depicts the institution, because going through the whole SSR may be a tedious task for the peer team members to understand what an institution is before visiting. So writing an executive summary as part of SSR is a challenging task for the people who are working on the SSR at every institution. So what we did at our institution, we finished filing the whole SSR. As a last activity only, we wrote our executive summary. So usually you in the sequence, usually people will write executive summary first, then keep on filling the quantitative metrics and followed by qualitative metrics. So some of the important aspects what we have been touching in qualitative metrics might be missing in writing executive summary. So it's always a good practice to write executive summary at the end. So this will certainly help the institutions to focus the most important points about the institution, especially to the peer team members. This is the first one. The second point, in most of the cases during data verification and validations, most of the institutions will certainly get a lot of questions from the team DVV. That is just because of not hosting relevant information on website relating to the quantitative metrics. This is see, we give some link in a quantitative metric. Additional information can be available at so and so link, like that institutions will specify. But usually when the DVV people will click on the link, certainly they will miss some information, because it is like a continuous a year-long exercise by for example, by NAC. Let us take an example, because during pandemic, it has been 1.5 year exercise by the NAC, unless until otherwise we go. So meanwhile, the webmaster may do some mistakes such that some of the links will be broken. So institutions at any cost should not do this mistake. The links which were given to DVV must be intact still till the time of completion of assessment. So this is since Janki is asking about don'ts, I have been telling in this way. So those links which have been given must not be torn before the assessment is finished. This is another important point we have to remember. And especially the evidences. Usually I know, I have been mentor for many engineering institutions in state of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh for filing their SSR successfully. I've been looking at the people who are working for NAC accreditation procedures. They feel only sample data has to be furnished to the NAC. The rest of all the information, they can be verified during the peer team. This is not true. The whole information, because we know all quantitative metrics will be evaluated during DVV, 70% marks will be fixed before peer team visit the institutions. Hence, all the information, like for example, whatever our commitment, whatever we fill in the tables, that is called in metrics, we got some response. All the necessary information matching with the responses must be made available in the data sheets given by the NAC. But usually institutions who are going for first time accreditation may feel like only some sample data is sufficient. NAC gives some Excel formats. So they may claim, for example, 1,000 students have gone for field trips in last 5 years, maybe 200, for example, 200 in each year. They will put only few lines of the information about the field trips. That is not fair. So they have to furnish the whole information according to the values that have been given under the responses. So this business will not work. Every information must be made available, and we have to meticulously use the additional information column given by in SSR, such that huge information which is available. For example, if you take internships, or for example, if you take a autonomous engineering college, more or less every students will do one internship in 1 year. For example, if there are 5,000 students in any academic year, we have 5,000 internships. So if we collect 5,000 internships as a letters, means like one A4 sheet from each student, it's not possible to host or give it as a PDF file to the to NAC. So in that way, all the evidences are collected in meticulously and will be made available on our website, and a decent URL must be provided in the additional information. This must be done.
Absolutely. So, MasterSoft, I'd just like to come in here. MasterSoft has created a accreditation data management solution. So many of our institutions were facing the challenge of managing data according to each and every criteria, and then downloading these reports in Excel formats or the required sheets. And they also need to be in a particular size, 10 MB, 10 KB, whatever. So we built the solution so that they're able to streamline all their records at one place, and the IQAC has access to all these records, and they're able to analyze at every given point in time how this works out. So now, so we had floated this registration form, and we had requested for some questions from the audiences. And one of the questions which has been very prominently asked has been the implementation of national education policy, and how would we accommodate national education policy when we go ahead. Not putting the question to anyone, I would request anyone to kindly unmute and provide your pointers on this.
So I trust over here, the NAC is also very clear that NEP will have an impact on the assessment methodology, and NAC has already invited the stakeholders to provide the suggestions. Now, I think we have to little wait because sometimes we have the policies which are declared, but in the terms of that implementation part, there is a delay. So, but then one thing is clear, that the NEP is focusing on the innovation. So if we can innovate in whatever we can do, I think leave aside what time, the NEP, implementation parts or some kind of guidelines come. But if we keep innovating, if we keep striving for the excellence in whatever we do, whether it is the program that we offer, or whether it is the way in which we do all the placements and the internship drives, etc., I think the world will be ours.
Great. So I would also like to, so one of our attendees, we had also put forth this question, that what are the best practices that you have adopted as a part of your IQAC? And this was one of the responses shared by our participants, that they divided their students into different groups: electricity saving, social welfare, and such group students were divided with a particular objective, and they had come up with really interesting ideas to move about. So meanwhile, I'll just make a short announcement that we will make proper compendiums of whatever has been said in these meetings, and we will share the compendium files with the necessary pointers to you. Also, you have put forth many questions in our registration form. Along with that, your best practices as the IQAC. We would be consolidating all those points and sharing the PDFs and the PPTs with you on the Facebook community group and our WhatsApp groups. I will request everyone to kindly join our Facebook group, which goes by the name of Higher Education Leaders and No Advertisements. I'll share the link with you. And every week we will be conducting more such sessions.
Prashantji, it has been a wonderful experience listening to my other fellow panelists. And it was really an enriching experience to be here on this platform. And there have been many takeaways from the discussions which held. And I am sure that everybody is benefited to some extent.
Yeah.
Thank you for providing me this opportunity with other panelists, friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah, Janki.
So, sir, on the behalf of MasterSoft, I would like to present a very hearty and warm thank you to everyone for sharing your years of experience. Someone said to me that when you're talking to someone, they're sharing all their experience with you while they're talking to you. That's a very important thing. And there is a very important quote that whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. And that applies to all of us in every aspect of our life. So with that, I would like to thank our audiences. If there is any topic that you would want us to take up or any speaker you would want us to suggest, it would be a matter of pride for us to conduct the session with you. So thank you so much, everyone. I have shared the feedback link in the chat, also the link to the Facebook channel. Please share your feedback. And to all the speakers, Harsh sir, Samir sir, Gopala sir, Krishnakant sir, so thank you so much for your valuable views. And your blessings would be needed to all of us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Gupta sir. Thank you, Harsh sir. Thank you, Samir sir. And thank you, Gopala sir, for accepting our invitation and joining us. And like Janki has mentioned, it's all the years of experience you try to put it into the audience into very short span of time. I guess it's a very much learning experience for all of us, and it was a healthy panel discussions. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you, everyone. I would now request my host to kindly end the meeting for everyone. Thank you. We'll be back with more such conferences for you.